occasions, and I think on at least 2 occasions, to receive honorary doctor's degrees. And it reminded me the first time I went to Cambridge in 1955, they told me to wear my robe and a hood if I had one. And so I picked out what I thought was the most prestigious one I had at that time, was from Baylor University. And so when I went into the study, the clergyman who was then the minister of Great St. Mary's at Cambridge asked me where that hood came from. And I told him Baylor University, and he scratched his head and he said he had never heard of it. I said, well, it's the largest Baptist university in the world. Well, he said, I don't think you better wear it. So Dr. Honeycutt has presented me this morning as a doctor, and I suppose in a sense I am a doctor that does people very little good as far as physical health is concerned. But I heard about this dog down in South Carolina. He was a famous hunting dog, and they called him Preacher, and this fella used him every year. And one year he went down there, and they said, oh, no, said, we don't have a dog here named Preacher. Oh, he said, you must have. I've used him every year, but I did miss last year. Oh, they said, we did have a dog here named Preacher, but some fella from New York came down here and called him Doctor, and he hasn't been any use since. Now, I had prepared a lecture for this morning entitled The Mission of the Church, but I was told yesterday by some very eminent professors here that it might be better if I just preach to you. I don't know exactly what the difference is, because I'm going to give probably the same talk anyway. But I remember Grady Wilson was out in West Texas, and he was preaching to the cowboy camp meeting, and one old cowboy came up to him after him, and had very famous preachers there, 3,000 or 4,000 cowboys, and he said, Brother Wilson, he said, I sure do like your preaching. You don't give us no doctrine nor nothing. And that's about the way mine is going to be. I had, earlier this year, I had a debate at Cambridge, supposed to be a debate. It turned out to be a discussion with the former Archbishop of Canterbury on the subject of the mission of the church, Dr. Ramsey, Bishop Ramsey now. And I used to go by and see him many years ago when he was the Archbishop of Canterbury. In fact, I never went to London before I went to see him at Lambeth, and he would serve me some tea, and we had become good friends earlier when he was Bishop of Durham. And he took me to his little chapel, and he always called me Billy G. And he said, Billy G., he said, I pray for you every day. And he said, here's my prayer, that God will bless all the things you're doing right and overrule all the things you're doing wrong. And I said, Your Grace, that's going to be my prayer for you from now on. Now, you cannot be an evangelist without being controversial. And I suppose you can't be a theological professor without being controversial, or even the head of a theological school. The gospel itself is controversial. Now, I found out in my travels, now I've preached the gospel in over 60 countries, that just the cross itself is controversial. But it also is the power of God unto salvation to all of those that believe. I want to take a text out of context, way out of context, if I might, because in the 7th, by the way, this Bible, I was asked already what this is. It's a Bible. And I got this in Paris the other day, and it's the New International Version in paperback, and I hadn't seen one so pretty, and I thought that would be good to bring here this morning to start my lecture. But in the 7th chapter of 1 Corinthians, the Apostle Paul, of course, is dealing with marriage. And for some of you, this little phrase might be applicable, where it says, time is short. Time is short.